Hello everyone, I'm back, kinda, I guess, I don't know. So I know the last book that I left off so far was Who Was Albert Einstein? I hope you guys are enjoying me reading these books. I still have a few more to go through, and then I'll probably have to find some other books to read. I will also be, hopefully today, get into the process of making another YouTube channel called The Rager Pager Kitchen, where my youngest daughter, Paige, she loves to bake, cook. So we figured we'll try something like that and see how the little kitchen scene will do. Then we'll have her sister and her brother help out too every once in a while, to kind of make it kind of fun here and there. And then you'll probably see me reading still on this channel. I'll probably try to put some games on here so it's not just reading all the time. Granted, I know reading is good, especially school time, which was today was the first day of school for my 3 kiddos, so that was pretty awesome. But all right, so here I go. I left off on chapter 3, so I kind of put a huge gap between chapter 1 to chapter 3, so I apologize for that. So go ahead and go back. I do have videos from chapter 1 and chapter 2 if you want to get caught up on that again. Okay, so chapter 3, Albert takes a deep breath and keeps thinking. Don't know what that, let's see what that means here, okay guys? Excuse me. One is born into a herd of buffaloes and must be glad if one is not trampled underfoot before one's time. Albert Einstein. Getting expelled from school, even a school he hated, was very painful for Albert. He was embarrassed to have failed so openly. He was angry with his teachers. He was disappointed in himself. Yet he was also excited that he would soon see his family. Albert joined his parents and sister in northern Italy. Italy was so different from Germany. Albert quickly fell in love with the country. Italians were so friendly, civilized, and open-minded. For the next 2 years, Albert went to concerts and visited art museums. Best of all, he had time to read and to think. He studied the lives of scientists. Okay, so there's a picture there. Including, so he studied this life. See if I can repeat that again. He studied the lives of scientists, including those who have suffered because their thinking had gone against widely held ideas of the time. For example, there was Nicholas Copernicus, 1473 to 1543, the Polish astronomer. He was severely criticized for stating that the Earth orbited around the sun and not vice versa. 100 years later, in 1633, Galileo Galilei, an Italian scientist, was arrested for agreeing with Copernicus. If someone knows how to say that correctly, please let me know. Yet, in Albert's time, no sane person believed that the sun circles the earth. The study of other scientists' theories pushed Albert's thinking even further. In Italy, he had the time to write down those thoughts and answer many of the questions he had been asking himself for years. Now he was a real scientist. He even had his first scientific paper published in a magazine while he was still a teenager. When scientists have new ideas to share, they write about them in scientific journals. That's what it means to get a paper published. For Albert, as for all scientists, getting papers published was very important. It was the only way other scientists could learn about his ideas and thoughts. There's Albert. Pretty smart dude. I wish I could have been that smart. I wish I was that smart. There you go. Albert's first published paper was about electricity and magnetism. That was no surprise. Excuse me. After all, he'd been thinking about both subjects for years. But to everybody's surprise, Albert began his paper by disagreeing with something that all scientists assume was true. Scientists claimed that the empty part of our outer space, the part without planets and moons, was filled with something called ether. Scientists had no idea what ether was made of, or what it looked like, felt like, or smelled like, but they all agreed it was there. Albert disagreed. He claimed that the empty part of space was, well, empty. Albert's first paper did not get a lot of attention. Although Albert was disappointed about that, he should not have been surprised. After all, Albert was a teenager who had been expelled from high school and who was still living with his parents. Who was he to challenge the theories of the world's most respected scientists? However, years later, many of those same scientists would seek out Einstein's first published paper and marvel at the genius of the young scientist, because Albert was right. While living in Italy, Albert took long walks by himself. Day after day, he hiked in the mountains. His family's business was failing, and Albert worried that he was a drain on his parents, a sponge that took but never gave back. He had lots to think about, and a daily walk and time alone claimed his mind. I lived in solitude in the country and noticed how the monotony of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind, he said. Albert made several important decisions during those hikes. He decided to study physics at college. Physics is the science of objects, their energy, and the way they move. After that, he wanted to become a physics professor. To do this, Albert knew that he would have to finish high school. But no school could ever own his mind, which he felt his German high school had tried to do. Albert also decided that the freedom to think, to explore his own ideas, would always be the most important thing in life. That is a very good point. It's very important to get your ideas explored and to think about them. If he got married and had children, his wife and family would matter to him, of course. But they would never matter as much, he realized, as his ability to think freely. To some people, that might sound like a selfish way to live. What do you guys think? Is that a selfish way to live? Having your thoughts be a little more important than your family? But for Albert, it was the only kind of life that made sense. Albert re-entered high school in Switzerland, where German was spoken. What a pleasant and unexpected surprise. His new school wasn't like the German high school at all. At the Swiss school, students were supposed to ask questions. Albert especially enjoyed discussing the subject of time with his teachers. How fast does time pass? What is the future? Do we travel into it, or is it already here? Will time ever run out? Not only did Albert like his Swiss school, he also liked the Swiss people. They were friendly and fair. Albert decided to become a citizen of Switzerland. After graduating from high school, Albert stayed in Switzerland and began college at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in the city of Zurich. Albert had no money. His family had fallen on hard times. An uncle provided Albert with a little money, but it wasn't much. Albert lived in the dark room, ate barely enough, and went without new clothes just so he could stay in school. Here's a couple pictures before I move on here. So it's kind of like, what would you guys do to get to college? Looks like he did whatever he could. No matter if he had nothing, he wanted to stay in college. So he did exactly what the little amounts he could do just to go to college. What would you do? Excuse me. Still, there were good things about this time. At college, he was making new friends. The other students lovingly would call Albert the professor because he had so many theories and talked so much about physics. One of his new friends was Mileva Merrick, the only woman in Albert's class. Albert liked to call her Dolly. She too was a brilliant thinker. They talked endlessly about physics and music. It was not long before Melivia and Albert announced their plans to marry. So that's them right there. Without the thought of you, he wrote her in 1900 at the age of 21, I would no longer want to live among this sorry herd of humans. Upon graduation from college in 1900, Albert was all set to become a physics teacher. It should have been a wonderful time in his life. He had his diploma and he was in love. However, he could not find a teaching job. His uncle stopped sending him money. Albert's clothes were ragged. His meals were few and far between. His health suffered. Without a job, he couldn't afford to marry Meleva. Albert ended up taking a job with the Swiss Patent Office. It wasn't where he wanted to work, but it was a job. Then Albert's father died. Albert was devastated. Fortunately, he and Meleva, and surprisingly, his job at the patent office turned out to be far better than Albert could have ever imagined. All right, so that was chapter 3. I will be back sooner or later for chapter 4. Have a great rest of your day.